My name is David Cada. I work for Older Brothers. I've been there about 3 months.
Okay.
A little bit of a prior experience doing chimneys, so HVAC kind of a natural progression into it, I guess.
How long were you doing that for?
I've been doing chimneys since I was like 13, on and off. But a couple years ago, I decided to do that more full time than weekend work. So I did that for about a year and a half. Then decided wasn't really for me. So decided to look into HVAC and found a great place to work.
So you're doing, I'm getting a little off script here, but you're doing chimney work when you're 13. Is that a family business?
Yeah, my dad did it his whole life, so he would have me come and help him on the weekends. His father owned a company down in Philadelphia, so I worked there for a couple months, and that wasn't the best place to work, so I decided against it. But my uncles all did it, so I decided to rush in there with them. And
So you're the first one that's breaking away into the H.
oh yeah, yeah, the first one to get out of break the chain.
Good stuff. So what do you like? What do you like about your job in general? What do you like about working for a family-owned, locally owned energy and HVAC provider?
I really just like the work that comes with it. I like the sense of purpose. It's not a 9 to 5 where you just show up and waste time all day. You actually get to see the work that you do, how it impacts others, how it helps other people to stay warm and cool. Just stuff like that. I mean, anyone can clock in 9 to 5 and bite your time all day, but doing this, you get more of a progression to see how your work is doing and take a little bit more pride in it.
So is it safe to say you have a different, every day's new in a good way?
Yeah, I really like the what's the word I'm looking for?
You're good.
I like the variety of work that you get to do. Every day is a little bit different. You're never doing the same thing in, day out, really. I mean, so some things you do over and over, but you're always in a different place. You're always working with different people. You get to meet different customers, see different things, see crazy things, see normal things.
What's the craziest thing you ever saw?
Yeah.
We'll skip that.
How can we scare you away from getting
Yeah, right.
Okay, yeah, that's good stuff. I think in general, and I don't know if we'll use this or not, but I mean, you would say most customers are appreciative in terms of the work that you're doing and just that sense of gratitude in terms of when you're working with customers on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, the customers are great. I mean, some of them get a little mad when things don't go properly, but
Sure.
that's just part of the territory, I guess.
Yep. So what have you, this is your first time you've been to one of our classes, right?
Yep.
Okay. What have you enjoyed? I know it's only been a week and a half, but what have you enjoyed with the training that you've gotten from PPATEC to date, as it relates to our facility, to our instructors, or we've obviously had other instructors come in addition to Alan.
Yep.
Can you just kind of speak on kind of what your takeaway has been up to this point?
Yeah, my takeaway, I really like the facility. I think it's great. You guys have all the lab equipment and stuff for you to see everything and the different types of burners and everything that you'll see in the field or maybe not see in the field, but it's a great experience to be able to see it here and see how it should work, what you need to do. I really like the different factors of book learning and then going and actually seeing hands-on what you were just reading about and things like that. I think it's a great combination.
Has there been anything you learned this week where it's like an aha, well, since you've been here, like an aha moment, like, hey, like next time I'm at that customer's house, like I'm going to do it differently this way, or anything like, kind of like spark you in that regard?
Yeah, there's been a couple things that I've just like seen and then been like, oh, okay, like vacuum pressure, stuff like that, where I haven't seen it as much in the field, but then they show you how to do the testing and all that, and you're like, oh, okay, I get what that is now. Because you hear it out in the field, but you don't see it as much. So getting to see it here and learning what everything should be is really helpful to help that click in your head.
Awesome.
Nice.
It sounds like you're a hands-on guy, right? You like doing different things every day, and you're not a 9-to-5 desk job type of individual, and nor am I by any means. But just going back to, I guess, hands-on learning, whether it's here or in general, how important is that to you within this field, in your opinion, up until this point as well as in the future? Like how much do you value hands-on, as a part of your learning process?
Oh, I think hands-on is very important, especially in this line of work as well as any other manual, physical type of work, because you can read about it all you want, but until you actually see it and do it, you don't really know what's going on. So I think hands-on is very important, especially in this field.
Awesome. I think I've basically covered everything that I want. Steve, anything that comes to mind in terms of like a follow-up question?
Oh.
All right, so Billy, are you good? All right. Tell me your name, what company you work for, as well as your previous industry experience.
My name is Billy Shirley. I work for Shipley Energy. Prior to this, I did a little bit of mechanical work, 2 years in car mechanic, a year as a bike mechanic. And then before that, I was a landscaper for 10 years. So this is kind of familiar with it by moving because of the car industry, but something new, something different.
What motivated you to get into, the HVAC energy industry?
Honestly, the biggest thing that motivated me was knowing that I can give different families, options on whether or not, preferred on their comfortability, I should say. You give different options on their comfortability. And it's a good trade to get into, something people are always going to want.
I agree. Everyone has to eat and cool their homes,
Man.
right? What do you like most about, and I know you've kind of answered this to some degree, but kind of come at this at a different angle. What, your daily week, obviously, last week and this week you're here, right? But your normal week, what do you like most about your current job, your current position at Shipley? What kind of motivates you each day?
Honestly, I like meeting different people. I like to talk a lot. Anybody, you meet me, they know that I like to talk. But meeting new people and getting to work on something different, it's not every day. It's not every day you're going to the same thing. You don't know what you're getting into. Doesn't matter if it's a no heat call or if it's a tune-up. You have no clue what you're getting into, and I kind of enjoy doing that.
Awesome. All right, so you've been at our facility here. This is the first time you've ever been here, right?
I was here for a low voltage class one time.
Okay. All right, so it's the second time you've been here. Obviously, this time it's been a little bit longer.
Mhm.
Can you kind of speak through, and you can tap back into that low voltage class as well, but what has been your takeaway with the experience that you've had at PPATEC, whether it's from our facility or with our instructors or just in general? Hopefully you found it beneficial, but what have you, what is your takeaway with the training program and what we offer?
My takeaway would have to be that it's not about what you know or remember. It's about how you can get that information, who you can get it from. The amount of resources is, there's unlimited amount of resources here. It's really based on who you know and where you can get it from. Alan's a great guy and learned a lot from him this past 2 weeks. And yeah, if I could take anything from this company, it would be that I'm never stuck just because I didn't remember it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. So you were a car mechanic before coming into the industry. You're doing landscaping. Prior to that point, I think it's safe to say you're a hands-on guy, right?
Yes.
Sitting in a cubicle for 8 hours a day probably doesn't seem like that would be
No.
a good fit for you.
Not at all.
So, in terms of hands-on learning, right? So, like when you're you're going somewhere, whether it's on the job or something like this, how important is that, in terms of how you learn and pick something up, right? How can you just kind of speak on the importance of hands-on training?
Honestly, I think that's more important than anything for me personally, and a couple other people that I know. Doing it hands-on is, what you're getting into, what you can do with that. When you look at a manual, you got to go off your best educated guess, and the manual, that's not sometimes always isn't the best idea. But obviously, as a trained technician, you get trained on how to look at that manual and stuff like that, and down the road, you'll eventually be like, oh, okay, yeah, I can do that. But I think personally, hands-on is the best. I mean, that's how I learn. I will learn faster in the middle of a burner than I will in the middle of a book. It's just personal.
Well said. So in the last, week and a half here, is there something that, whether it's Alan or, Bruce Graham or whoever was in here, where you pick something up during the class where it's kind of like an aha moment, like, hey, when I was at this place 3 months ago or in the future, like, I'm going to take what I learned here and apply it. Is anything that kind of popped up in that regard? If not, that's okay. But if there was, can you speak on that?
Don't assume anything. That's my take on it. Don't go into any house and assume anything, because then you're going to be left out in the wind, really. I mean, yeah, I would just say don't assume anything. That's my biggest thing. I've never gone into one house and when I did assume, it was completely opposite. So that's why I like this industry. It keeps your brain stimulated.
I love it. Billy, thank you. I really appreciate it, man. Appreciate you being willing to do this. And anything else? Anything else? We'll start off with can you give me your name, the company you work with, and how long you've been in the industry?
Okay, my name is Damaris Gibson. I work with Aero Energy, the Cambridge, Maryland division, and I've been there for 6 months now.
What were you doing before that point?
Before that, I was working at a place in Eastern Maryland called the Wayland Company, which is they manufactured water source heat pumps.
Okay. What made you want to change your career to get into the HVAC and energy industry?
Well, manufacturing, it was kind of a different standpoint than what I was looking for. I was looking to get out in the field and be in the truck doing service calls and installs and stuff like that. So it was kind of a stepping stone to get where I'm at now, pretty much.
Okay. What do you currently like about your job? I mean, what kind of gets you up in the morning every day? What motivates you?
Just doing different things. It's always a different issue, traveling to different places. Interacting with different people. The people I work with are really helpful, and they don't mind, giving the younger guy the knowledge they have to keep the industry going and to make sure that I'm successful in the trade. So when they retire, I can be the next in line and keep the tradition going.
Good stuff. What's been, so you're relatively new to the industry, right? 6 months.
Yes.
What's been one of the learning curves for you? Obviously you're not going to know everything right away, and there's
Right.
guys that have been doing this for 40 years that no one's going to know everything, right? So like, what's been, what's been helpful for you in the first 6 months, and where are other places you feel that hopefully you want to continue to advance your career?
Well, what's been helpful, just, riding around with the older guys, absorbing knowledge from them, and getting a lot of hands-on work, and actually with them supervising me, showing me, the hands-on work and, the do's and don'ts of being successful in the industry, and just pretty much equip me with the tools I need to progress and be successful and, be a good service tech, good install, and just moving on through the ladder.
Good stuff. Is this the first time you've been at our facility?
Yes, it is.
Okay. You're going on a week and a half. What have you enjoyed about our facility, about our training program, about our instructors? Can you just kind of speak? Hopefully you
Yes.
enjoyed it to some degree and found it beneficial, but can you just kind of speak on your experience?
I have a wonderful experience here. Alan, he's a really good teacher. I've learned better as far as hands-on. So, with us being able to read in the classroom and then come to lab and apply what we just read is a very helpful thing. And I think that's the main thing for being successful, just getting your hands dirty and being able to apply the knowledge that you just learned in the classroom and go in the field and actually put it to use and be successful.
Well done. this, you kind of already said it, Ray, but I'm going to ask it in a different way. For you personally, how important is hands-on learning? I mean, could you go to a class where you just would sit, in a classroom and read a book for, 2 weeks? I mean, how important is hands-on learning to your career development?
Right. Well, I feel like in this industry, hands-on learning is like one of the best things that can happen to you. I mean, you can sit there and read a book until you pass out and get in the field and just be lost versus, reading a chapter on combustion and actually going into the lab and doing a combustion test. I think that's really where it all comes into play versus, just sitting there reading all day. You're not really going to learn much. You may have the knowledge, but if you get in the field and you're on your own, you don't know what a vacuum pump is. You've read about it, but you don't know how to hook it up. You don't know how to use it. So it's not going to be a help to you versus, actually reading a chapter on the pumps and then being able to go in the lab and use what you just read about and was shown and put it to work. That's what I think really counts.
Awesome. Anything, and again, you're answering these questions as I'm going along, but I guess to say it in a different way. Anything that you learned here during your time in the last week and a half, where it's like, man, I wish I would have known that 3 months ago. I would have did it this way, or moving forward, I'm going to potentially, learn whether it's with a vacuum pump or whatever it may be in the future. Any like direct takeaway that you can describe, if possible? If not, that's okay.
Okay, well, actually, just in these past 6 months, I've had a lot of experience working on Beckett oil burners. So for me to come in here and learn about Carlins and Rillos, that's a really big thing for me. I haven't really encountered too many of them in the field yet. Well, I mean, it's still early, of course. I haven't been doing it that long, but that way when I get to that, I'll be prepared and I'll actually have knowledge. That way I can apply that to actually work on it and, be productive and not just having to be on the phone like, oh, man, it's a Carlin. I don't know what to do. I actually come in here and read about it and then go in the lab and actually learning how to break them down and, just troubleshooting them. That's definitely a plus.
Awesome. Demarius, that's all I got. Hopefully that wasn't too painful. You did a great job, man. I really appreciate it. Work for and how long you've been with JJ Powell?
Tyler Vernay. I've been with JJ Powell for about 4 months now. What was the other part of that?
So your name.
Yep.
You answered. So we'll
right.
just run it again. Give me your name,
Yep.
the company you work for, and how long you've been with that company.
All right. Tyler Vernay, JJ Powell, 4 months.
What were you doing prior to going to work for JJ Powell? Were you in the industry? Were you not in the industry? Can you just kind of speak on your previous experience?
I was an electrician and plumber for about 1.5 years. Drove truck for a while. Served in the United States Marine Corps. Worked at a retirement home. Just a bunch of different jobs.
Okay. What attracted you to this industry in general?
Well, I was driving truck at the time, and my friend that works at JJ Powell said, hey, you want to be home more often? I said, sure. So he got me a job here, and I've just been enjoying doing it. I enjoy working my hands and helping people. So.
From a day-to-day perspective, and you kind of already spoke on this, right? You enjoy working with your hands, you enjoy helping people, but what kind of gets you up in the morning? What motivates you? What drives you to go to work each day? Can you speak on that? Just add a little bit more context to that.
Mostly troubleshooting. Waking up every day saying, okay, I got to go do a cleaning, or I got to go do a water leak. It's the same shit every day. Whenever you're getting a call for a no heat or something like that, you go there, you never know what you're getting into. That's pretty much what keeps me coming back.
You find most customers are, billing aside and all that stuff aside, but generally appreciative of someone like yourself that's coming in to help them and get them back up and running from a heating or cooling perspective?
I'd believe so.
Okay. When did you come out? When did your service end as a Marine?
2017, April 1st of 2017.
Okay. What, kind of tapping back into that, what, if anything, if you don't want to answer, it's okay, but what during your service was, 4 years, longer? How long?
I
were you-
ended up being a medical discharge
Okay.
after a year.
Okay.
So.
You know, during your time as a Marine, what has prepped you or helped you, you know, translate into specifically, you know, more so the HVAC industry, but anything that you can kind of pull, you know, during that experience that if you feel that has helped you today?
Definitely accountability. Before I went to the service, I worked for a kitchen company. If I'd mess something up, you know, I'd kind of try to sweep it under the rug, not take accountability. Now when I mess something up, I'm the first one to say, hey, I messed this up. It's my problem. You know, let's see what we can do to make myself better. And that's pretty much how that's helped.
That's great. That's great. All right, so this is the first time you've been at one of our programs, right?
Correct.
I know it's only been a week and a half, but can you just speak on, you know, what, hopefully the answer is yes, but what you found beneficial during your experience here, whether it's from a trainer perspective or from the facility or whatever it may be. Can you just kind of speak on, you know, your experience?
Yeah, I mean, the program's great. I mean, I'm not a book learner, and it's pretty much split right down the middle between hands-on in the lab and sitting reading a book. So it's definitely a great program because, you know, like I said, if you're not a book learner, you get your hands on, and if you are a book learner, then good for you. That's half the class. So.
You basically just covered this, and I'm kind of asking you to repeat yourself, but just how important is hands-on learning to you? Could you go to a class where it was you would sit in a classroom for 2 weeks?
No.
Is that, you know, can you just speak on, you know, how hands-on helped you become a better technician?
Hands-on is how I've learned. It's how I've always learned. I grew up on a farm. We never had books and manuals and stuff to tell us how to do things. It was, you touch the fence, you get shocked. Don't do it again. So working my hands definitely a lot better than reading the books, and hands-on is definitely beneficial.
Awesome. Last question. All right, so anything that you learned here during the last week and a half where it's like, hey, you know, next time I go out to Mrs. Jones' house, I'm going to do this different, or just in general, like, you know, I learned more about whatever it may be, where it's, hey, I know for a fact it was kind of an aha moment or whatever you want to call it, where it's like, yeah, you know, I'm going to take this from this experience and utilize it.
Yeah, so we don't really use the combustion analyzer as much in the real world, mostly because we have one between 3 of us techs from where my location is. So I learned how to use one of them here and really utilize the skills of using it, using a vacuum gauge. That's definitely something. And then also whenever it comes time to doing installs, learning how vacuum plays into oil lines and whatnot for the pumps, fuel pumps.
Excellent. I have one more question to throw at you. Just going back to the military, you know, to your time in the service or a veteran in general. Hopefully you agree with this, but do you feel that the HVAC and energy industry is a good place for anyone, but specifically for veterans? You know, does it align to you know, a well-paying career and just a good opportunity? Can you just provide any context on that if you'd be willing to do so?
I think it's great for veterans. Really, it's great for anyone, but there was an old guy I used to work with, and he always said, if you can get into one of the 3 things that everyone needs, toilet, heating and cooling, and electric, you can get into one of them, you're made. And obviously there's a lot of different jobs in the military. You know, if you drove truck and you want to drive oil truck or transport for, you know, a fuel company, there's always that opening. If you want to be hands-on working on, you know, burners and installing stuff, there's obviously jobs in the military where we've done that, and it all comes together.
Keep on asking questions. So, I swear, this is my last one. Right? In terms of you did drive truck during your service?
I was an organizational mechanic,
Okay,
so I worked on the vehicles.
okay. Any thought, if you can't speak on this, it's okay, but, you know, obviously HVAC's a seasonal business and the oil delivery part's a seasonal business. Any consideration on your end to potentially be an HVAC technician as well as someone that would, you know, be a CDLB or whatever it may be on the oil side?
Well, that was originally the plan for me when I came to this company. They wanted me to drive delivery truck in the winter and then work on cleanings and water leaks in the summer as a tech.
And that's something you're still potentially pursuing, is that?
Correct.
Okay. All right, I swear I'm done now, all right? Tyler, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Did a great job, man.